My respects to the Chief Secretary and all important ministers and other dignitaries present here. The verse that I just now recited is a praise to Buddha Shakyamuni, which says, one motivated by compassion discarded all wrong views. I pay homage to that Gautama Buddha. So two very important things are being said in this verse. Why we should respect the Buddha. One, Buddha is somebody who is really embodiment of compassion and highly concerned with the turmoils, conflicts, sufferings that is rampant in the world. Buddha was able to clearly see the root cause of all this problem is wrong views. In Buddhism we call it marikva, ignorance. It is because of this ignorance we are unable to understand our relation with the law of nature, our relation with each other. We have no idea how long we are going to live in this world. So because of lack of such knowledges, we end up being mean to each other, fighting each other, discrimination. So therefore, what the Buddha was telling us is, look, we are all part of the nature. We are all born in the same way. I jokingly, when I give ordinary talks, I tell them what is the first thing that the child does after the birth. The first thing that the child does is crying, not laughing. By crying, the child is not asking for a lengthy discourse on Buddhism. Similarly on Christianity, Islam, anything. The child is simply asking for somebody's loving kindness. This is important to remember how we started our life. Because as we grow up and get this or that kind of formal education, then we forget the basic reality, the basic sameness. So these days, to really help promote people, I even go to the extent of saying why it is important to understand the law of nature. So one point that I really hope that I will be able to provoke other people is, look, right now we have over 8 billion human population. All this over 8 billion human population will be dead after 100 years from today. I'm not saying they will be killed by nuclear warheads or ballistic missiles. Unfortunately, they are all there to speed things up. But even otherwise, our lifespan is around 100 years. So, now in my case, I'm over 70. If I'm lucky, I may live another 10 years. Once you understand this reality of our life, does it make sense to kill each other? Does it make sense to engage in discrimination in the name of religion, in the name of nationality, in the name of country? Doesn't make any sense. It is quite fresh in our memory that when the COVID-19 came, COVID-19 did not make any discrimination. The COVID-19 did not say, I will harm only certain sections of the community, not others. It harmed all of us. If there is an earthquake, it will not make discrimination. If there is a flood, it will not make discrimination. It is us, the narrow-minded individuals, we make discrimination. You belong to this country, you belong to that country, you are monk, you are not monk, you are man, you are women, you are black, you are white. So that's why one of the most important slogans by the Buddha is, may all sentient beings be happy. When he says this, he's not only talking about human beings, all the living beings, all sentient beings. Because there's nobody who doesn't want happiness. There's nobody who doesn't even want the suffering of a bite of a mosquito. We're all same, completely same. And we forget that sentence. And on superficial grounds, we make that discrimination. So therefore, as Sir has mentioned, that the conflict that we are seeing between Russia and Ukraine and now, Israel and America and Iran, these are the results of long-term negligence. Much before, many years before, when such conflicts are about to happen, we should have dealt with the cause of those problems. Now we are living in a world today where we have stockpiled more than 20,000 nuclear warheads right now. Plus countless other ballistic missiles and other weapons to kill us. That's why we need Buddha's wisdom. Buddhist teaching says you don't have to kill people, they will die. वैसे अपना आप मर जाएगा, कल मरने की जरूरत नहीं है. It's really like killing a dead person. So therefore, I'm really happy that you made this great attempt to bring this relic to this area. I have visited Ladakh several times, and I know the devotion of these people. Totally devoted. Relics like that of the Buddha becomes beneficial and source of blessing only when there is devotion, when there is a faith, which our Ladakhi friends and Tibetan friends here they have. So it is really amazing. But what is really important is, while participating in this relic exposition, what is important is to really remember that means out of all the activities of the Buddha, the most important activity of the Buddha is his teaching. Therefore, when we try to pay gratitude to the Buddha, remember his compassion and kindness, the best way to repay his kindness is to study his teaching. And this is especially relevant in today's, reading world. I will try my best not to overstay because it's a little cold here also. But I am tempted to throw in front of you some of the important quotations said by great teachers, where Eleanor Roosevelt says, "It is not enough to talk about peace. One must believe in it. And it is not enough to believe in it, one must work on it." Peace is not just absence of war. Non-violence is not just absence of violence. It is a dynamic process. You need to actively participate in making the peace available. In work employment, in the office, in all phases of your life, there should be peace. This peace will be there if you respect others. And Mother Teresa says, if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten we belong to each other. We belong to each other. We live on this small earth, and especially through the speed of science and technology, we are thrown into the face of each other. So it is outdated to say we and they. Just we, not they. Right? It's very important to flourish. And then Ralph Waldo Emerson, the real and lasting victories are those of peace, not of war. I mean, look at what is happening right now. The amount of money that is wasted, amount of destruction that is done in each and every field, is like unthinkable. I sometimes really feel sad when we call ourselves intelligent human beings. What is happening with us now? In big cities, the air is polluted, the water is polluted, plus we have all this conflict and war. How can we say we are intelligent? From there we can easily find out what went wrong. What went wrong is that we have this amazing intelligence, but we have misused this intelligence. We have corrupted this intelligence. We have used this intelligence for making nuclear bombs. We have used this intelligence for making discrimination. So therefore, sometimes I really pray, if this is how we are going to live, I pray that nobody gets an education. Because most of the problem that you see in the world is created by those who say they are educated. Right? There are other things which is important if you want to have peace. In order to have peace, there should be a global sustainable economy. Without justice, global sustainable economy, providing reasonable employment and also eliminating poverty and hunger. In this case also, let us see how many people are there who are wallowing in richness, and how many millions are there who are finding it difficult to get their daily food. So long as this kind of injustice, discrimination there, it is futile to talk about peace. We need universal access to competent education system. The education, especially the education of women, is key to both economic and peace development. Warfare by men has led to the exclusion of women from power. Women's skill of exchange, cooperation and solidarity, as well as their experience giving birth, bringing up the next generation and managing informal economies are all essential to the evolution of peace culture. We also need a compassionate health and welfare system. The principle is included in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It is there, but how many of us are actually implementing? Even the UN, unfortunately, now is not very active. It's not able to control anything. It is now really looks like it's not better than the League of Nations. Mahatma Gandhi said, power is of two kinds. One obtained by fear for punishment. The other by acts of love. He said power based on love is 1,000 times more effective and permanent than power derived from fear of punishment. Therefore, again, it's a big reason why we highlight the important activities of the Buddha, the life stories of the Buddha. So great people like Buddha, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Desmond Tutu, they are not weak people. They are strong people. They never relied on weapons. They relied on their integrity, their compassion, their love. So it is high time that we develop proper understanding what is weakness and what is strength. Unfortunately, these days, people have started thinking those people who have arms and ammunition and nuclear warheads, they are strong and great country. And I have been in many of my talks telling my Indian brothers, sisters, that although India also, like any other country, of course has to defend its border. We have the title, peace beyond border. But beyond border, whether there is peace or not, dependent upon that those other people on the other side of the border. But at least to India, as I mentioned, although you need to have to defend your border, but India must show its greatness in terms of its soft power, not the hard power. Soft power is the power of culture. And that's why His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in one of his commitments, his last commitment was preserving ancient Indian tradition. Because India has a unique capacity and place to lead the rest of the world in the field of non-violence, in the field of compassion, in the field of integrity, in the field of non-alliance. So therefore, again, with this kind of occasion, we should really strengthen Indian culture, the spirit of ahimsa. Let me cite a few more lines from His Holiness Dalai Lama, then I will wind up. Because although it's a privilege that the organizers have asked me to speak, but whenever I give, normally when I give this days, I am invited here to give series of talks to all the schools. During the last 3-4 days, every day, I've been giving 3-4 talks every day. So sometimes I enjoy, but sometimes I feel a little bit shy, because saying something like this to you is like preaching the converts. You know everything. You know it. But still it is good to remind, because most of us know things. Number one, the problem is most of us don't know. There is ignorance, that's the problem. And then the second problem is we know, but we are unable to do. So I always sum up the root cause of all problem by saying the problem that we see throughout the world is either ignorance or inaction. Right? And His Holiness, the Dalai Lama said, every person has the same potential for inner tranquility. But negative forces such as fear, suspicion, selfishness, and self-hatred can destroy inner peace. So if you are somebody who wants to talk about peace, first deal with your negative emotions, reduce them, then there will be peace. Where ignorance is our master, there is no possibility of real peace. You can count, you can continue to talk about harmony, peace, and so forth, but as long as you have this, you harbor this ignorance deep down within you, it is impossible. You will again end up my side, this side, that side. Very, very unfortunate. There can be no peace as long as there is grinding poverty, social injustice, inequality, oppression, environmental degradation, and as long as the weak and the small continue to be trodden by the mighty and powerful. This is happening throughout the world. Where is your compassion? When in the same place, in the same area, so many people are suffering, and a big number of people are just, as I said, enjoying in wealth. How can you hope to get peace? How can you actually enjoy? Right? Genuine peace between nations will come from mutual respect, not from weapons of force. One thing that we have seen clearly is those people who use destructive weapons, supposed to be defeating the other nation, but in the end, they are defeating themselves. Look at what is happening now in Ukraine and Russia, what's also happening in China. So therefore, to use violence to oppress people is against human nature. It's against human nature. So long as you do something against human nature, sooner or later, people will revolt against it. You've seen this in many countries recently. The situation that is developing in Nepal, the situation that is developing in Hungary, when people are really not satisfied. There is patience. You cannot have that kind of patience forever. Out of desperation, people will come out. People who fight with other human beings out of anger, hatred, and strong emotions, even if they gain victory over their enemies in battle, are not in reality heroes. I mean, this is the paradox of our life. If a poor people, out of desperation, kill somebody, then we immediately cage that person and imprison him, saying that he is a murderer. When in the war, hundreds and thousands are killed, then we say he's a hero. That's the problem in our society. So in Buddhist teaching it says, those people who gain some kind of victory in the battle, what they are doing is slaying corpses. Because human beings will die at some point, as I already mentioned. The true hero is the one who gains victory over hatred and anger. Now why we have these differences, why we have these conflicts? These conflicts are there because of inconsistencies and contradictions found between nations and so forth. But if you look carefully, contradictions are found even in one person. These contradictions should not be seen as something that has to be reconciled by using force. It is because of this contradiction, what you thought in the morning, then in the evening you get different idea, and if this idea is better, you use this idea. So contradictions are not necessarily bad. So we need to learn from each other. And also, the fact is, violence breeds violence. As we have seen, I don't have to explain this one. Like it or not, we have to live side by side as neighbors. And this is the strategy that His Holiness developed in terms of his relation with the Chinese government. Although without any right, Chinese invaded Tibet, but still His Holiness is saying, we are human beings. We must solve this problem through negotiation dialogue. This is so important. We are not able to do this in negotiation dialogue because we forget who we are. I need to tell people that you are a human being. If you are a human being, then there are certain features as a human being. One is the language, one is the brain. And when you have this sophisticated language, when there is a problem, when there is a difficulty, then you should solve that by using this language, by talking. We are not tigers and lions. If there is a disagreement between tigers and lions, they cannot say, there is a problem, let us sit down and talk. Let us have negotiation, because they don't have their language. So the only thing they can do is jump over each other and try to tear each other apart. We are doing like those animals today, unfortunately. So it's very important to teach the art of dialogue in the education system. Then I'll just say one point about the need to have both the head and the heart. That means good knowledge, good wisdom, plus compassion. I want to remind this one. If we are without ethics, if we are without morality, a German high school principal sends the following letter to his teachers at the beginning of each school year. And in this letter he says, I am one of the survivors of a concentration camp. My eyes have seen things that no man should see. Gas chambers were built by well-trained engineers. Children poisoned by well-trained doctors. Babies killed with needles by trained nurses. People shot and burned high school and university graduates. By high school and university graduates. If you don't have that, the humanity. Right? So therefore, what is really needed is that our education system becomes real education. Unfortunately, these days everywhere, education is a kind of literacy where people are taught to read, write, and mathematics, where it is not taught that people should be happy. This is why I am skeptical of education. My request to you is as follows. Strive to make your students humans. Of course you will say, what Geshe kya bakwas kar raha hai? Admi to home mein. But think, if you say, dog is a dog, no problem. Cow is cow, no problem. Are humans humans? Big caution. Especially human beings. Big caution. Right? So don't allow your efforts to produce knowledgeable monsters and inventive psychopaths. Society has discovered discrimination as the great social weapon by which one may kill man without any bloodshed. I can continue to speak, but I don't want to really make you feel cold and get bored. So my conclusion is that life is short. Number one, life itself is short. Number two, we make it short by wasting our time. Right? So it is high time to think carefully what it means to be a human being. What is it that I should do? Yes, you need to get some job, to look after yourself, to buy food and so forth. But more than that, as a human being, you are not a dog, not a cow, you are a human being. Not just human being. There's a difference between these two words, human and human being. We are a human being, which means whether you are Buddhist or not a Buddhist, the main purpose of your life as a human being is as much as possible to bring happiness in the mind of others, as much as possible benefit others. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, if it is possible to help others, please help them. If you are unable to help them, at least refrain from harming. And you will be able to do that when you really see the reality of other people. I mean, all of you really educated groups of people, looking very nice to me. But if I talk gradually, spend time, talk with each of you, I am almost 100% sure you have one or the other problem. So this being the case, our job is to lighten their burden, to extend a helping hand, to make their life happy and cheerful. As I already cited, you don't have to kill people, they will die. Similarly, you don't have to create more suffering, people already have suffering. And I was able to notice this clearly when I was just a student, and the Tibetan Medical Center requested me to go with a very famous Tibetan doctor to the 4 Scandinavian countries and help him dispense the medicine, things like that. I went there. So when the patients were coming to see the doctor, when they were coming, they all looked very nice. Ladies with a nice handbag, and with some cosmetics on the face, and then with high heel, tag, They really look nice. But when they sit down and the Tibetan doctor diagnoses their pulse, listen to their story, believe me, all of these people have one or the other seen this. There's nobody who doesn't have this problem. This body itself is source of problem. We say, I'm healthy only when your 4 elements are in harmony. When there is a slight disruption of the balance of the 4 elements. For example, heat is a little bit more, fever. Wind is a little bit more, anger, sleeplessness. So with this kind of understanding about the law of nature in general, and especially the reality of other human beings, we must respect. We must, whatever religion they want to follow, let them follow. Whatever profession they want to follow, let them follow. But be a sensible human being. Thank you.
Geshe, for this profound, intellectually deep teaching that you have today taught us. And of course, a direct one that reminds us about our own ways of thinking, and again reminded us about the importance of looking from inside out, the importance that the Buddha and the Bhagat has been teaching. Once again, gratitude and thanks to Geshe once again. And I would also like to express gratitude for your presence to His Eminence His Eminence and Venerable Bhikkhu Sangha Sinaji. He had to leave because he again left for another work which is related to 100 of students. 100 students are there at his MIMC, the meditation center of Mahabodhi, where students are waiting for meditation course. So he had to leave, and also what